Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
Hi, Nicolette. It's great to be with you today.
Well, thank you so much for saying yes to be interviewed today. For our listeners and for you, my name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. First off, I'd like to say thank you very much for saying yes to be interviewed today. And then, as a ritual of my podcast, I'd like to read a bit of an introduction before we get right into our conversation. So, hello everyone. We have Sheryl Plouffe here with us. Welcome to today's episode with Sheryl Plouffe, a visionary co-founder of ICONMAKER, where she and her partners have propelled coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs to achieve 6 and 7-figure successes through high-margin programs and strategic podcasting. With over $3 million in client sales since 2023, Cheryl's leadership is transformative. Now, before entering the business world, she spent 2 decades as a Canadian television anchor and executive at the Weather Network. Today, she's here to share invaluable insights on scaling businesses and maximizing podcasting effectiveness. Wow, so much to unpack. So, Sheryl, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. Even when you read that, it makes me realize just how much of my professional experience has permeated into what I do today. So great to be here.
Thank you. So, Sharon, before we get right into the core, can you share with us, first off, what was it like growing up as a Cheryl?
Well, I grew up in Northern Ontario in a mining city named Timmins, and I grew up there, a French Canadian upbringing, right? My grandparents on my father's side speak French. I speak French fluently. And then on the other side of my mom's side, it was English, right? So I had an interesting upbringing. We did move to British Columbia when I was a teenager, and I spent most of my teen years there. And then by the time I was 18, I was really on my own path in terms of I was involved in, modeling and pageantry, and then started doing TV hosting. By the time I was 18 years old, I was tapped on the shoulder. I was volunteering at a cable station. They tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, we don't have a host for this show today. Would you like to come in and step in and do it?" And I said, "Sure."
Why not?
So there I was. And I did that for the next 2 years and really fell in love with it. I didn't go to school for broadcasting, interestingly enough. I really worked my way up through the ranks of working in radio and television, and then eventually made my way to the national stage before I was 30.
Wow. So you must, for them to scout you on the street must be like, oh, okay, I like that one. You must be giving
Yeah,
a different aura. Like there's an
possibly.
energy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think they probably, I mean, certainly I was in the right place at the right time. I
Mm.
happened to already have been volunteering at that cable TV station, pulling cable in the studio at that point. So
Literally pulling cable.
literally pulling cable. Yeah, yeah. And then, and so then I tried it, and I didn't know. People often say, "Well, what was that like when you're 18 years old, never done it before?" I think that that's the lesson. There are opportunities that come into your life at certain times that you don't feel prepared for. I
Mm.
certainly didn't feel prepared to start hosting a news magazine program when I was 18, but I stepped into it as an opportunity and thought, well, what is the worst that can happen? The worst is that I can learn from it. And that's, I think, the lesson. What I ended up happening and what I discovered was I really enjoyed it and that I had a talent for it that I did not know I had. So that's really what led me to want to be on that path. And it was a great experience, but that's what led me to having my professional career in TV.
Brilliant. So Cheryl, can you share with us what is the best way to monetize a podcast? I could use that advice myself.
We at ICONMAKER, we have a different philosophy on how you truly monetize a podcast. Now, I will preface by saying that we, of course, admit and know that there are audiences who listen to podcasts. We know that.
Yeah.
But the audiences that listen to podcasts are not as big as entrepreneurs think that they are in order to achieve their financial goals. So
Mm.
what we do is we say, instead of trying to chase down the downloads and chasing down the advertisers or the sponsors, and while those are viable monetization paths, it's usually not enough to be able to warrant building a 6-figure or a 7-figure business on the back of that alone.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer
Agree.
to the question then is use and leverage podcasting to build high trust relationships, which are foundational and will always be foundational to good business practice. You leverage the podcast, whether you're a guest or whether you're a host in either of the roles that we are in right now. If you and I forge a strong relationship based on this conversation today, and we, for lack of a better term, start dating, to use an analogy, right? Right now, we're having our coffee chat. We're just kind of having our introductory, we're having a coffee and we're getting to know each other. But after this conversation is done, Nicolette, you better believe I'm going to be thinking about you. I'm going to be introducing you to people or trying to figure out, like, what are the things that Nicolette needs to grow your show, to grow your enterprise, to grow your business. And if you're someone who is generous of heart already, which I am, and most of the people in our dolphin community are, I'm going to want to make those introductions. I'm going to want to forge more of a relationship with you. And I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know if that means that we will work together in some capacity. I don't know if that means that we'll partner in some capacity, or I don't know if that means that there'll be an introduction to other platforms for me to speak on. I just don't know. And that's, I think, the exciting part. And I think the beauty of what we're talking about, the strategy is patrons, partners, and platforms, rather than chasing downloads and chasing advertisers and sponsors.
What are the success stories that you can share with us from the clients that have chosen to work with your team?
We have several. We have many clients. So one of the things that we do in our program is we're helping entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants build a 7-figure business through leveraging podcasting. Now, what's interesting about that is that the podcasting doesn't even come into play until stage 3 of the program. And our program's 2 years. So,
whoa, 2 years now.
And people are sometimes surprised to hear that. They go, well, if it's a podcasting program, why are you not starting with podcasting? And I say, that is the problem. Most people start with the podcasting before they know who they want to serve, before they have an offer, before they've validated that offer, before they have anyone paying for that offer with actual money, right? Not just placating that person, but saying, hey, if you'll have me, I'm in. I want to work with you. I want that transformation. That whole piece is often lacking. So that's why people are frustrated with podcasting sometimes, because they go, well, I'm going to build a podcast to grow my business. And then they start the podcast, but they haven't fleshed that all out. They don't know who they're serving, what the offer is, or have sold the offer yet. And in our world, we talk about high ticket offers first. We believe that an entrepreneur should start with a high ticket offer. So we don't believe in the ascension model. We believe in the descension model. And these are things that we talk about during our 4-hour workshop, where we explain these strategies and why they work so effectively. So it's the roundabout way, Nicolette, of answering your question, which is we have many, many clients who have created their own $100,000 programs, $25,000 programs, and in some cases, $10,000 programs. We've actually had the most success with people building $100,000 programs
rather than the smaller ones.
Right.
Wow.
And they're out there selling, and there are strategies for how we teach that. Strategic risk reversal is important to us as well in helping them build those offers. They build $100,000 offers. We have many clients. One of our clients, Shiraz, is a reality interventionist, right? So he's the person who you go to when you have limiting beliefs and your mindset isn't what it needs to be in order for you to actually accomplish the goal you've set in reality. Like, you've got blocks, you've got issues that are sitting in the way, whether you realize it or not, and most of them are subconscious, right?
Yes.
So he helps you unblock those things. And I mean, he's rocking this whole process. I mean, he's sold, I think, I don't know, as of the recording of this interview, I think $900,000 in sales, right? So our organization hasn't even been operating for more than a year at this point. So it proves that it works. We have many other clients who've sold for $400,000, $500,000, or $100,000 of their offers, and it's pretty significant. That's life changing for someone who, prior to coming to us, had been struggling and buying all these programs and buying all these courses and trying to do all these different things in the wrong order. What we do is bring perspective to it, and we say, we're going to do the podcasting, trust me, but we're going to do it in the right order so that you actually accomplish your goals.
Now you got me really, you piqued my interest. That person just now that you mentioned, 900,000, like when did he start podcasting? Like, so was he also spending hundreds of thousands of, maybe not thousands, some amount of money, significant amount of money out before engaging with your team?
I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what the history was of his investments, obviously before he joined us. But here's
Right.
what's interesting, Nicolette.
Uh-huh.
We haven't even gotten to the podcasting part.
No, he hasn't even gotten to the
Not yet.
platform
No.
and start
No.
speaking about his programs, and already.
Right. Now, his was a unique situation in that he, he had come to us right. Actually, it was just before we really officially launched. So he already had some pokers in the fire, shall we say. So that
Right.
did help him along in that process. But some of our other clients who started with us right from the get-go, again, selling $400,000 worth of their own offers in the matter of months, really. They haven't even launched their podcast through us yet. That's just based on the merits of doing the first and second stages of the process, which is figuring out who you want to serve, being clear about that, building a transformational program from A to Z, a plan for how you'll help that person achieve a goal, charging what it's worth, strategically risk reversing that offer. Like there are some elements, that's what we've been predominantly focused on with our group to this point. And so, what's exciting about that is the fact that here's somebody we haven't even done the actual podcasting strategy with yet. This is just based on the merits of the things that we've taught them to do in stages 1 and 2, let alone 3, 4, and 5. So clearly, our goal is to help someone build a 7-figure business. It's very clear that he's on path for an 8 or possibly even a 9-figure business.
And you'll be including the elements of marketing as well in your program?
Yeah, we talk about referral partners. We think referral partners is aligned to what we do because our whole premise is about building high trust relationships. I think that if you want to build a 7-figure business, what gets you to 6 doesn't get you to 7. But what can get you to 7, what can get you to 7 is definitely going to be based on relationships. And that's why we focus on podcasting as part of that methodology, because podcasting, unlike other methods of connection, is based on conversation.
Yeah.
And building relationships is based on conversation. So it's a really natural fit for podcasting to be the way in which we help them to forge those relationships, whether as a guest or as a host.
Wow. So you were mentioning that you have a 4-hour course. So is this free or somebody has to, pay some amount
It's a
of money?
nominal fee. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
nominal fee. We charge $27. And $27 goes to charity. So we believe that entrepreneurs should be able to do good and make money at the same time rather than waiting until they're successful in order to be philanthropic, in order to be generous.
Yeah.
So we've tried to lead the way with that and say, we are going to do, and we do these workshops where we charge $27 for the fee for the workshop, but we donate that to a charity organization in order to do good while we're also doing business at the same time. So it's very affordable, obviously, to come and learn for 4 hours. And we have many people, and like on my LinkedIn, they'll leave recommendations and reviews of the workshop when people come, and people love it because we don't hold back. We don't hold the cards close to the vest and share some things, but not other things. As you can see, I'm pretty generous with
Yes.
I'll just tell you everything because that's part of our mantra. We don't want to gatekeep, if you will, the information and keep it all to ourselves. We want people to use these strategies. And what we have found is that when you're generous, when you share it all and you put it all on the line, there will be always a certain percentage of people who say, I love everything you're about. How do I become part of that? And that's how we generate our clients. People are drawn to us because we're very transparent. We're very open. We are generous and we share all these amazing strategies are shared freely and willingly.
And when you put out there, always come back to us like 100 times, 100-fold. So I love that, Sheryl. Okay, now we're going to step back into some of the generic questions. So I would like to ask you, how can you inspire podcast hosts to promote your workshops and services? Like for me.
How can we help podcast hosts promote?
Like myself, yeah. So let's say I have a workshop or services that I want to promote. So how can I do that?
Well, I mean, I think that it's about building that collaboration with the other person and making, like, having a win-win scenario. How do both parties come together and find a way to both win? And usually, again, coming back to conversation, it's through talking. It's through having conversations saying, okay, well, what is it, Nicolette? What do you need? Okay, great. And then conversely, here's what I'd be asking for. If we could come to terms with how I can do this for you and you can do this for me, we've got a deal, so to speak, right? We've got a deal. Let's like virtually handshake on that and then be able to move forward. So I think that's really what it is. I think often people don't recognize how many resources they have at their disposal or that they have available to them. Like we think of resources most of the time as financial, like money in the bank or in the bank account. But there are so
Yes.
many other types of resources available. During one of our
Network, something like that.
introductions, network. There's a list. My partner Tom has put together a list of 12 different considerations of resources that you don't really realize that you have. One example is he was talking about this at one of our events where, he had a spare computer. It was a computer just like he had upgraded his computer, but he had this other computer that was just sitting dormant off in the corner of his office. Well, he ended up having a conversation with someone whose computer crapped out or something happened. And he said, well, why don't you use that computer in the interim between now and when you get your new one and I'll ship it to you? You don't realize how many resources you have at you. So now that person was like, oh, that'd be amazing. That would be awesome.
The trust has been built, like
Trust
friendship has been
built. Well,
forged. Wow.
now those, I believe, if I'm thinking of the right person, how that all materialized, they came together to form a program together. Like, I mean, but that's, I think, what it is, Nicolette. I think it's really just around how do you build a win-win relationship with another person so that both parties can mutually benefit from an agreement. And those resources are not always only money. It can be the value of your network, introductions. It could be your computer sitting in the corner of your office. It could be any number of things, your time. Anyway, he came up with a list of, I think, 12 different resources that you don't really realize that you have until you see the list. And that's probably something I should share in our Facebook group at some point. Maybe I will. I'll share that
Yeah,
resource.
that'd be great.
It's a
Yeah,
good
I
idea.
saw your profile, but I tried looking at LinkedIn. I can't seem to find you. So maybe.
I'll send you a connection request.
Okay, all right. So Cheryl, thank you for that. What are the key components of a high ticket offer that guarantees results?
We believe it's a 5-staged approach, and the 5 stages are the roadmap to the transformation, the quick win on the path to that transformation.
Roadmap, quick.
Yeah, the roadmap, the quick win. The 3rd stage is the implementation of strategies or systems to systematize that transformation. The 4th thing is to find efficiencies. Sometimes that's people, sometimes that's technology. It's to empower systems champions to make the process work seamlessly. Sometimes that could be automations, technology, people, any number of ways to buy your time back so that you're not on the hook to work 90 hours a week. That's not the point. We have to find ways to be efficient. And then the 5th is scale, which is to rinse and repeat and reach your goal. Now, that's a simplified version of it, obviously. Within those 5 stages are decisions to be made and considerations to take in mind, because every person who certainly comes through our program is doing something different. They all have different expertise and different experiences and wisdom in a specific subject matter. And the key to putting that into a high ticket offer is to make sure that it's solving a big enough problem. It has to solve a big problem. And that's often the challenge. We have people that come into a program like ours who want to build a 7-figure business with a high ticket offer, but what they need to either add something more or they need to change the positioning of what they do in order for it to be truly solving a bigger problem than what they're solving currently. So there's more to it, but that's the simplified version and answer to your question.
And people can get the sneak peek of this or the whole thing if they choose to sign up with ICONMAKER. Is that right?
We actually teach that at the workshop.
The 4-hour one. Okay.
Yeah. We teach it, and we go through all the different stages. We show examples of offers. We'll show on the screen examples of, okay, so here's an example of someone who's this type of expert and how we would craft their high ticket offer based on who they are and what they do.
Beautiful. Cheryl, I'm aware of the time as well because this is going to
Okay.
be a 45-minute interview. So I would like to ask you, Cheryl, what is next for you and your team?
We have ambitious goals to serve 1,000 entrepreneurs in this program. And we feel that if we do that successfully, we will have left our legacy behind. We will have left our imprint and left our impact on the businesses and families of the entrepreneurs that we touch. Because at the end of the day, that's really what our community is all about. We're really at ICONMAKER, consider ourselves a community of people who are driven by impact and driven by profit at the same time. You know, obviously, if you're going to be in business, you have to be generating revenue, otherwise you're not in business. And you can't have the type of impact that you want to have if you're not successful financially. That's just one part of the equation. So our goal is ambitious. We are committed to serving 1,000 entrepreneurs over the next many years. Our goal is to, eventually we'll likely sell this company to who knows who, but that's our goal, is to really be committed to this over the next many years of serving entrepreneurs in this capacity and helping them build their sustainable businesses. That's the legacy we'll leave behind.
You love that. I love that. So, Cheryl, my podcast talks a lot about self-worth. So I have a question for each of my guests. So the question for you, Cheryl: existential crises often lead us to question the meaning and purpose of our lives. Now, number one, have you ever encountered these challenging moments? And if you have, how have you navigated them and what insights have you gained?
Well, that's a great question. It's happened a lot more for me in my midlife, right? That's the stage that I'm at. And for me, it started, I would say probably around 10 years ago or so is when I started really thinking about and feeling drawn to want to change my path professionally. I felt drawn by God to do that, likely. I mean, that's kind of where that stirring kind of inside of me came from. So for me, it was the path on personal development and really committing to myself to be a lifelong learner. I've always been that way and very inquisitive, which I think is what drove me to journalism and broadcasting in the first place. But personal development, I'm committed to learning. I also love myself. I do. I love myself. I think I'm a good person. And I knew around 10 years ago that I was kind of feeling that feeling of what else? What's the next step? What's
Is
the
this
purpose?
it?
Why are we doing all of this?
Yeah.
And so now, I'm in my early 50s. I feel like I have those moments quite often, actually. And right now I'm sitting here. If you're listening to this, you won't see me, but if you're seeing the video, I'm actually at the cottage right now. We're up at the lake house. I'm by myself. The boys have gone home to do their sports. And these are the moments where I actually have more of those events where I feel like I'm connected. And it's probably because I'm right in nature. I'm looking
To
out at all the
source.
beautiful trees and
Yeah.
I feel more connected to source when I'm here because I'm so in the middle of nature and it's quiet. It's so peaceful. Sometimes you hear boats out on the lake, but for the most part, it's nice and peaceful and quiet. So in terms of existentially, I think we're all here for a reason and for a purpose. And the goal of life is to figure out why. It's to figure out what can you contribute? What can you leave behind in all of this?
Mhm.
And I do have those moments frequently where I'm like connected to source. I'm talking to God and really kind of saying, okay, am I on the right path? I'm following what I'm meant to be doing? So I think it's important to connect with yourself. It can get crazy, right? I mean, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Don't think there are going to be
Definitely.
failures. There's going to be lessons and all of that. It's just part and parcel of what the process is. But when you know yourself and you have self-awareness and you have love for yourself, and then
Mhm.
anything.
Thank you. I love that. It's like a message for me as well. Because I'm just jumping into, I left my 9 to 5 as well, just in May. So right now jumping into therapy and coaching. And
Yeah,
podcasting.
good for you. Well, you're following your heart, right? If you're following your heart and you're following that nudge that's inside, like I feel like when you get that nudge and you get that's the universe trying to speak to you. They're trying to get your attention,
Yeah,
and
and they're
so
gonna keep on prodding until you take
yeah,
heed.
for sure.
So, Cheryl, what is your heart's
I'm sorry, that last question, what?
what is your heart's greatest wish?
My heart's greatest wish is that I would like to do more for women and children in situations, abusive situations or in poverty. I feel like I've done some, but I think I have more to do in that realm. So my heart's wish would be to help women and children. That's something I aspire to do more of in my work. And then I think on a personal level, I'm, very committed to obviously my family and our son, a baseball player and he plays hockey and he's had a really good upbringing and I'm proud of that. So I think my greatest wish is that he would pass that along to his future family as well.
Beautiful. So, Sheryl, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Get started. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, it really is about getting started. You don't know how, you don't know who, you don't know,
Yeah.
you don't know a lot of things, but you have to get started. You really do. And I've taken that approach since I was 15 years old. And it's always worked out for me because there's always a lesson to learn. And it's about putting one foot in front of the other. What I fear is that people don't get started because they're trying to wait for things to be perfect.
Be perfect. Yeah, exactly.
My partner Danella jokes about this, but it's not really a joke. It's I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna wait to get started, and then I'm gonna wait for this to happen before I do this, and then it's just, no. You just need to start doing something, taking one little chunks, little action steps on the path. So I think it's really just about getting started. I've been doing that since I was 15. I think that's largely why I've been able to accomplish anything that I've accomplished in my life is because I've done that and taken that approach.
And pivot confidently, right? In your
Not
career.
always. No, not always. It's pivot, but not always
Not
confident.
confident, yeah.
Not always
But
confidently.
just taking the leap,
Just pivoting.
just pivoting, yeah.
Just pivoting. But doing it, I think you're a good example of that. Like as you just shared, you said, I left my 9 to 5 and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And you don't have all the answers. I'm sure you'd agree. You don't have all the answers. That's okay. You're taking steps. You're doing the thing. And that is to be applauded. And everyone should just see your example as a shining example of how to.
I think God is speaking through you to me right now. Thank you for that, Sheryl.
Well, you're welcome. This has been a really wonderful conversation. I want to commend you on your questions. It's not often that I am asked smart questions, to the degree that you have today. And so I just wanted to commend you on that.
Thank you. Wow, thank you so much. That you just made my night so that I
you're
can sleep better
welcome.
tonight. Thank you so much, Sheryl. Okay,
You're so welcome.
how can people reach out to you?
I'm active on LinkedIn, really active on Facebook as well. So we have a Facebook group called Podcast Monetization System, and you can look it up and request to join. So I'm, reachable on LinkedIn, Facebook, and also if you go to ICONMAKERlive.com, we've been talking a little bit today about that workshop. ICONMAKERlive.com will have the information for our latest workshop there. But obviously, if you connect with me on social media and say that you heard me here on your show, I'm happy to send you the resources and the links and all of that, or someone on our team could. But we're reachable. We are not going anywhere. We're here to serve. We want to really make an impact on entrepreneurs who've been struggling to really make a go of their entrepreneurial dream. And we take a slightly different approach to how to do that. And it's been working. And we expect that we'll continue to do that for many more people to come.
Making sense. It's gonna be huge success. I love it. And I have this thing in my heart, like I want to be a part of it. Maybe not immediately, but definitely in the near future.
Well, we have our community, we call our ICONMAKER community, we call ourselves a community of dolphins, right? The dolphin pod hangs together and we help each other and we're friendly and jumping out of the water, right? And when I meet people, when I'm speaking, such as today, I can tell when someone is a dolphin. Like you're a dolphin. I can just tell if you're a dolphin. So it's, you're welcome to be in our community. And I hope that I'll see you soon, somewhere, whether it's at an event or a workshop or in our Facebook group somewhere. I'm sure we will stay.
Yeah, beautiful. I would love to have you on my second season of this episode. I don't know, I haven't worked it out yet, but I would love to, spend some more time with you, just going deeper into some of the questions. That because I actually have a few more here, but I'm aware of the time. So, but this is where we wrap up for today. And for our listeners, there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person herself, Sheryl Plouffe. Before we close, so Cheryl, I'd like to thank you personally for the work that you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way despite the challenges, creating trails for those that will come after you. For our listeners, this has been that one podcast with that controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you find yourself thinking that you are worthless, you're probably not alone, but more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I'm worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically all the way from the ethers, and for that reason itself, you are worthy and you are enough. This has been Cheryl Plouffe, your guest of the day, and Nick Nyaras, your host, signing off. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for your time.
Thank you.